Welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's doing well, and in today's video we are going to be adding a new item to my vintage collection of insulation testers that I have purchased. Now this item is quite unusual to find within the UK. They are available in America, but to ship them across is usually quite expensive, so I was looking forward to finding one in the UK, and I have. And this is the said item. We've got this out of the way. Bit of bubble wrap. Let's get him off. And we can show you what we have purchased. It did look to be in quite good condition on the pictures, so hopefully it will be there. Put the knife away so we don't hurt ourselves, and we are within shot. And oh, we've packaged it all up inside as well. Some of these sellers do quite a good job, don't they? And here, start to see what we've got. This is so we do have a manual with it as well, which is a little bit worse for wear. Not too bad. Too bad really, is it? Get him out of the way, and we'll get him out of the box. Quite unusual to find him in a this style of box. I presume it is wood, it might be cardboard, and then covered with something. I don't know. We've got a screwdriver. Steadfast, I don't think that's an original screwdriver. And we do have leads as well, which are a little bit, the red ones there's a little bit worse for wear, and so I think these would probably be the original leads that came with it. They're in the worst condition, and then we've got another set of leads, so I'm not sure if these are original or whether they've been purchased afterwards. Okay, so we'll just put him over to the side, and what we have purchased ourselves is an original Megger from James G. Biddle. James G. Biddle Company, originally founded in 1895 when James G. Biddle set himself up in business and selling other people's test equipment. But in 1889 they started to develop their own equipment in the form of battery testers, which then evolved into the Bite product range that some people will perhaps be familiar with, that is now part of the Megger stable. So there's a lot of history behind Biddle themselves, but in 1909 he was introduced to the Series 1 insulation tester from Evershed and Vignal, and in 1910 he went over to England, to London, and we've got needle movement, and he actually signed a deal with Evershed and Vignal to be the sole importer and distributor of their Series 1 Meggers. Later on, in the early 1940s, during World War II, Evershed and Vignal struggled to get hold of the raw materials within the United Kingdom. They couldn't meet the demand for the American market, so they licensed Biddle to produce his own insulation testers to their design. And then as time went on, in 1991 Megger did merge with Biddle and Multiamp to form Avo International, and then that changed names a few times throughout the years, and to this day we now just have Megger on their own, as I say, which Biddle is now a part of. We have now got this little fellow here to add to our collection. Now, I don't know when it was actually manufactured. It doesn't have a date on it. There's a date on the instruction manual. Oh, we've got a 1954 there, which is interesting. That could just be the manual, of course. So yeah, the copyrights. So this is the 5th edition from 1954. But whether that installation tester here was actually from that date, we do not know. There could well be a date inside, but I believe if I'm so this does still have all its seals. So the last thing I want to do is to break them and take a look inside this, unfortunately. I don't like to do that. If the instrument turns out to be not working, then I can do that to see if I can get it going, but it appears to be in good condition. It is turning over and the needle is moving. And I'll get a voltmeter and we'll just see what output voltage is coming out. I didn't realise it was a 1000-volt one, but that's okay. It's adding it to the collection that I wanted to do. So I've had to move out onto a different bench, and when you use these you do need quite a stable base because you're cranking the handle so much, so the table inside just can handle it. So we moved out to the workbench here to see what we can do with it. Now, I have noticed that whilst I was moving this around, we do have a guard terminal here as well. So this is a 3-terminal Megger line earth and guard terminal, so we'll be able to play with that against our test bushing that we have here. And we do have a little Biddle sticker on there that does say since 1895. And this construction, this bit here is aluminium, but the rest of this appears to be some sort of plastic / Bakelite, which is interesting. So I'm pretty sure the Evershed ones are completely aluminium. But anyway, we'll see if we can get any voltage out of this. Now we are going old school, so I think it would be a bit rude to connect this up to something digital, so we'll go AVO 7. We've got an AVO 8 and an AVO 7 here that we can test it with, so I'll set that up and we'll see what we can get, and I'll just show you as well the issues that you can have with using these old AVO 8 multimeters. So bear with me whilst I set this up and we will reconvene. So our AVO 7 here we have set up to 1000 volts DC. Our sensitivity of this meter and the voltage range is 500 ohms per volt. So on the 1000 volt range we will have 500 kilo ohms of resistance on this meter. The 1000 volts test voltage that we expect to come out of this unit, that will give us a 2 milliamp load, which might be too much for this. So if we get 1000 volts out, we expect the needle to be over here. Anything less than that could be due to the loading of this meter, so we do have to be a little bit careful. The other thing we do need to be careful of as well is that sometimes these old insulation testers do have the output polarity opposite to what we see from the meters of today. The line terminal, which is this one over here, is actually negative on the meter, and the what's labelled as earth is actually a positive output. That's due to the old asphalt insulation systems that they used to have in those days that wouldn't test correctly if you tested them with positive onto the core and your negative onto the earth. You always reverse the polarity to get a more accurate reading. But we'll give this a crank and we'll see what we get on the instrument here. You can see we've got 500 kilo ohms on the Megger and we are 500-ish volts. 520 volts on the output being measured by the AVO 7 here. So what I'm just going to do now is swap this over with our AVO 8, which is obviously a later instrument, but the AVO 8 has a sensitivity of 20,000 ohms per volt. So on a 1000 volt scale, that will now give me a 20 mega ohm reading on my Megger and won't load this up as much, so we'll see if we get close to 1000 volts then. So we've got DC and we need to go to 1K. Hopefully we are still within screen. We've got our first polarity, so we'll go again. You can see we are now 970 volts on our Avo, and we've got 20 mega ohms on our Megger. So that's pretty good output. And that's not bad at all, really. So our original measurement on our Avo 7 was purely and simply because it gave too much load onto our Megger. We do get 1000 volts coming out of this if we use the correct loading on it. So that's that there. It seems to be working perfectly okay. We'll put him out of the way and we will bring in our test bushing and we'll have play with that. I'll just move things around and get this one all set up. So we are set up to test our bushing here. You can test it without using the guard terminal to start off with. That's just floating in midair. I'll see if I can zoom around onto the insulation tester so you can get a better view of that. So we should be looking for around about 800 mega ohm without our guard wire connected up to the bushing, which is going to be a little bit difficult to see because the 5, so 800 is just below the 1000 mega ohm there, so I will probably be able to see it on the instrument, but you may struggle. But we'll give it a go anyway. And we are, it sits around about that 1 giga ohm, just below that. So I'm going to take my terminal for the guard and connect that onto my wire as I can. If we just zoom out, you can see I've connected it up to my bushing leakage lead there. Back in, and we'll see if it makes any difference. Yeah, I can see on the instrument that it is slightly above the 1000 mega ohm now. You'll perhaps struggle with that on the camera. It does bounce around a lot. That's just the nature of using these old instruments, unfortunately. It does appear to be working reasonably well. Unfortunately, the way I've set that up, you don't get much of a difference between the reading from when you use the guard terminal and when you don't use it, so I need to probably find a different experiment to see if I can show that a little bit better. I will just have a go with this test resistor I've got from my Gossen Metrowatt instrument. In actual fact, 497.5 mega ohms, so 500 mega ohms on this, so it should be somewhere between the 400 and the 600 there. Just see how we get on. Again, I'm not sure how well you will see this. Yeah, so that was showing 600 mega ohms there with that one. So it would be you should be able to see 500 mega ohms reasonably well, so it's perhaps reading a fraction high on the instrument. Over time I'll set it up on some other test resistors and just see what the values are down in the lower ranges, see if we can work that out there. But essentially it is working. We are getting our output voltage out of it, and it seems to be a fairly good example of the instrument, so I'm pretty happy with it. So there you have it. That's the latest addition to my vintage insulation tester collection. This is James Biddle Megger unit, which later became the Series 2, but it sat alongside here a Series 2 insulation tester from Evershed and Vignoles. This is both an insulation tester and a continuity tester. And then I have an example of the Series 2 earth tester over on this side here. So I can do a different video showing the differences between these three units if people are interested in that. But that'll be it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again in the next one.